Stat efficiency is a big deal in D&D. Why? What if you're rolling for stats, and you roll some pretty bad stats? Having a couple characters who are capable of still being amazing characters with bad stats really takes away the fear of rolling, because if you roll incredible, you can play a cool character, and if you roll terrible, you can play an equally cool character. And not only that, the fewer stats you have to invest in, the more feats you get to take over the long term, because you don't have to invest in ASIs, you can take feat after feat after feat. And this build takes this concept to the extreme. We are a one stat wonder. So how do we pull this off? If you think about a wizard seems like they only really need intelligence, but you dig a little bit deeper and it's pretty clear that they need a solid constitution and they need a solid dexterity. Constitution is the big one. No matter who you are, you're going to want more HP, so you kind of can't just have a mono stat because you always need constitution, unless the mono stat is constitution. So how do we pull this off? Well, starting off, we're going to want to be a Dhampir. Dhampirs have the unique ability of a bite attack that uses their constitution modifier as the attack. And how about the Rune Knight? The Rune Knight uses their constitution modifier to cast their runes, and that is their spell save DC. Now, how about the Aberrant Dragon Mark? The Aberrant Dragon Mark is going to give us a cantrip as well as a first level spell that both use our constitution modifier as our spell casting modifier. Okay, so let's take all three of those, put them into a build, and see what we can come out with. So as I said before, this is a one stat wonder, but what I mean by saying we're a one stat wonder is that's the only stat we're going to have to invest in. But that doesn't mean we don't need other stats. We do need a 15 in our strength in order to get heavy armor. We have our 15 in strength, great. Now everything else can go into constitution. As our tertiary, I'd say let's put it all into wisdom just to cover our wisdom save weakness. So let's start out with kind of our armor setup. We're gonna have heavy armor, we're gonna have shield in one hand, and we're gonna have a free hand in the other hand. By having that free hand, we're open to grapples. And since we are a Rune Knight who can go huge and get advantage on those grapples, even though we're not specializing it, we should still be pretty good at them. I'm gonna pick up the defensive fighting style, getting a 21 to AC, and remember, we're investing heavily in constitution, and it's cool that we can do so many different things with it, but baseline, it means we're gonna have high AC and high HP. That's awesome. We're gonna be extremely tanky even in the early levels. Now let's mix in some synergies from Dhampir. Dhampir's bite gets advantage if we're below half health. And the higher health pool we have, the bigger that range of half health is, the more comfortable we can stay in that range and keep having advantage attack after advantage attack. Not only that, we can heal using Dhampir's bite, which is going to heal us more. And something kind of neat is when we are giant form, when we've gone big, our Dhampir bite is going to do an extra d6 of damage, which means an extra d6 of healing. So they synergize together to give even more healing. Now I'm going to take Fire Rune and Stone Rune first. These are the only two runes that actually use our Constitution DC, and since we're going to be maximizing that, we're really maximizing these runes. And the cool thing about Fire Rune and Stone Rune is that one targets wisdom saves and one targets strength saves. Now how it kind of works is most monsters are going to be weak to one or the other, and either way you can debilitate them, that they just cannot get out of it. Really powerful. So at this point, even at level 3, we are tankier than most builds are at level 3. We are significantly tanky. Not only that, we have some control options, so we minor in control. But moving on to level 4, we get to pick up the Aberrant Dragon Mark, which is going to give us a couple spells. We're going to get a cantrip and we're going to get a first level spell. Now, as for the cantrip, I wanted a ranged option. Firebolt kind of stood out, but I didn't like its theme with the vampire. So I went with Chill Touch. Chill Touch has the same range and it does an average of 1 damage less per dice roll. However, you do get some benefits. You're going to stop them from being able to heal, which is kind of cool. It's kind of fun to be a vampire who can drink their blood and heal, and then you can stop them from healing in turn. And not only that, you're going to be able to give some disadvantage to undead creatures, which in many campaigns are abundant. So I think those bonuses can make up for that little bit of less damage than it does versus Firebolt, but more importantly, I prefer the theme. As for our first level spells, there are definitely some options here. You can take something like Silvery Barbs to not mess with your action economy, but for me, what I thought was the most exciting was definitely Charm Person. Goes along with the vampire theme and lets us do something out of combat, so that's what I would choose, although I think you can find some strong first level spells if you want to do something a little different than that. Now here's where this build really stands out to me, is that we are a fighter who gets more ASIs than any other class, and we only have to invest in Constitution, meaning we get a ton of ASIs that we get to invest in feats. This character can be filled with feats, and I really would say take whatever you find fun, but here's some that stand out to me. Having a +5 in our Constitution and then getting tough on top of it to get 2 more HP per level is really powerful. It's going to make us even more tanky. Resilient Wisdom to put our wisdom saves into the stratosphere between Indomitable, the wisdom we've invested, and Resilient Wisdom. We are going to be tough to put a wisdom save on. Getting expertise in athletics is going to specialize us as a grappler, so taking expertise athletics is a good way to do that. But again, to be clear, this is all about having fun, so look at all the feats and decide which ones are most exciting to you. You could become more of a spellcaster via feats, or you could become more sticky with something like Sentinel. Sky's the limit, and you're going to be able to take a lot by the end of this character's career. As for our weaknesses, I'd say few and far between. Overall, the standard things you're going to be running into, we've got covered pretty dang well. We could say dex saves are a weakness, we're going to fail them all the time, but I do feel like we have enough HP, because dex saves are always doing HP damage, that we can kind of just tank them. Now, the biggest weakness I'd say is our damage output has something to be desired. We're going to be doing 2d4 plus 5 once we hit our 5 in Constitution, and that's really where we're going to struggle. So finding feats that keep people sticky to us and make us more of a nuisance and force people to attack us is how we're going to be doing our job best. But at the end of the day, the amount of tankiness that we have, 21 AC and just a ton of HP, combined with our control options and our runes as well as our grapples, can make us a really big nuisance for our enemies. So I think it's worth the trade-offs we have to make. Now, I decided to go straight Rune Knight with this build, but it is a very multi-classable build. You could definitely become more of a spellcaster, and you could definitely take 1 or 2 levels in Barbarian. There's a whole bunch of different routes you could go with this character, so let me know what you would do in the comments down below. If you're interested in supporting the channel and getting a bunch of sweet benefits at the same time, we do have a Patreon, check it out. But other than that, my friends, I hope you have yourselves an amazing day, and I'll catch you on the next one. See you, love you, bye.